Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 4, part 2 of data journalism this week. We're in week 4 already. You should have watched this first video up here at the top and done the spreadsheet exercise on sorting and filtering some crime data. And once you've completed that, it's onward to probably the most difficult and boring exercise of the semester. We get it out of the way early. The math for journalists exercise. But it is vital to help you in writing with numbers and understanding how to structure a sentence that has data in it. Students that come out of this part of the semester have a really good, strong grasp of how to write with data. So the AP style book, hopefully you bought it, is very helpful during this. Also our Math for Journalists primer right here. The Journalist Toolbox Math for Journalists page, I'll go over that in a minute. That could be helpful. You're not going to find a lot of answers there. It does have some good online calculators to it. And then your Math for Journalists exercises, which are down here, you're going to do those for Monday, February 7th at noon. You'll email me that document. We do have some light reading as homework on 2 and 4 here. And number 3, I'm going to have you download tabula.technology, which is this tool. It's a free tool you can download to your Mac or Windows. We're going to use it next week to scrape data out of PDFs, which is really, really cool. So that's what our training is here for the second half of week 4. The only assignments due is the Math for Journalists. Math for Journalists exercises, there are 10 of them. Don't wait until the last minute to do it. Don't try to do it Monday morning. Work on it a little bit on Friday, a little bit on Saturday, a little bit on Sunday, and I think you'll be in pretty good shape with it. I just wanted to point out Journalist Toolbox has a Math for Journalists page. It's always somewhere on the homepage, either here or over here on the recent updates page. It has all kinds of online calculators, inflation calculators, and things like that, which is pretty big right now because we're seeing a lot of price inflation. Gas price calculators has been a big story, retirement calculators, all kinds of stuff in here. It's got different exercises on how to figure different mathematical equations and things like that. Conversion tools, all kinds of stuff from the metric system into feet and yards, from meters and decimeters and centimeters and so on, from the metric system into our standard U.S. measurements. So Math for Journalists, good little resource page for you. Right now I want you to hit pause button and open the Math for Journalists primer and the Math for Journalists exercises. So hit pause and we'll get started here in just a minute. Excuse me. Okay, the Math for Journalists primer. This is the thing you'll consult the most when doing your Math for Journalists exercises. We'll do a few practice exercises together, and I'll walk you through the assignment, but you're going to go back to this primer more often than not, and I've highlighted a few areas that will be helpful for you on your Math for Journalists exercise. I do drop in some funny memes and some things right here. If we were actually in class, I would ask you, what's wrong with this lower third from Fox News? And the answer you guys would give me was more than 500 million without power in North Carolina. There are not 500 million people in North Carolina. It should be 500,000. So watch your numbers. Big difference between thousands and millions and billions, so make sure you get it right. The Math for Journalists primer, there's several parts to this. I'm going to start with just talking about what mean, median, and mode are. The mean is the average. You've calculated averages probably since grade school, where you add a bunch of numbers together. In this case, it's salaries, and divide by the number of numbers there are. So if you have one CEO making $100,000, two $50,000 managers, 4 factory workers at $15,000 each, and 2 trainees at $9,000 apiece. That's 9 salaries. You add them all together and divide that number by 9 to get the average. The average is the mean. Same thing. The mean works out to $30,000. So the average salary at that company X, is $30,889. Now keep in mind there's some outliers there. The CEO is making a heck of a lot more than a trainee is, so you need to take that into mind. Median is the middle number. You have a set of numbers here, and you find the one that's in the middle. It's good to, when you're writing about the average worker, the average household income, or the median household income. You probably heard that term. Median home price in a neighborhood. Maybe you have a neighborhood where there's $1 million home, and there are a bunch of houses worth between $300,000 and $350,000. You're going to look at the median rather than the average, because that $1 million home will skew the average. You want to remove the outliers, either high or low, and the median will do that. So if there's an odd number of numbers, the median's pretty easy to determine. You also can, I'll show you formulas. You can also determine these in spreadsheets as well. So here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. Okay, so go to the fifth one down, 15,000. That's your median. That's the middle number. Okay, so different than the mean. Okay, it's the median, the middle number. Now, if it's an even number of numbers, let's say we had a different set of numbers here, and there were 6. You would find numbers 3 and 4 and go halfway in between them. So we're actually going to do an exercise on that in a little bit. So odd number, it's pretty easy. You just find the middle number. But if it's an even number, if you have 6, you'll find numbers listed. You'll find the third and fourth number and find the average between those two, the middle number between those two. The mode is the most common number that appears in a set of numbers, the number that appears most often. This can often be done with, sales numbers. You'll look at that, the mode, the most common price for, a gallon of milk instead of the average, or, the most common price for a Halloween costume or something like that. Median and mean, middle and average, are good measurements. But mode will show, how popular a certain number or a certain price is. And a lot of times, consumer retail journalists, business journalists will use the mode to come up with that. What's the most common home price in Norridge, Illinois, or whatever. Percent change we'll get into in a little bit. I've actually got an exercise for you on this. But do take the time to read through this if you have not already. Part of your homework was to read through this primer prior to this. One thing that I've highlighted here is to note about percentage increases, percent change. Saying something is a 100% increase means that it has doubled. So if the price went from $2 to $4, that's a 100% increase, meaning it doubled. So it's easier just to tell the reader it doubled. The price doubled from $2 to $4. If it's a 200% increase, that's kind of clumsy. A lot of people see that and they assume it's doubled. It's not. It's actually tripled. Okay? A 300% increase means it's quadrupled. So that throws people off. It's easier just to say, the budget tripled from $5 billion to $15 billion. Okay, so say it tripled or quadrupled. 50% increase means it's not doubling, means it's increasing by half. Okay, the budget increased 50% from $100,000 to $150,000. The wrong way to say it would be the budget increased 50% from $200,000 to $400,000. That's double. That would actually be a 100% increase. Okay, so it's important to distinguish between the two. On our Math for Journalists take-home assignment, you are going to have a situation where you're going to have to determine doubling and tripling. Okay, be ready for that. Okay, percent change and percentage points. Just remember, if you're subtracting percentages, say, the increase went from 12% to 15%. That's not a 3% increase. It's 3 percentage point increase. If you've ever watched elections, you've seen this, Biden leads Trump by 2 percentage points, 51% to 49%. The differences between those percentages are percentage points, not percents themselves, okay? Important thing to distinguish. Very big in political reporting, very big in showing change in percentages, okay? We'll get into per capita and rates a little later in the semester, where we're going to figure rates in a spreadsheet with COVID data. So we're not going to do much with it here. Do read through this so you have a basic understanding of it. But, again, it's not going to be on your exercise for this week. Sample sizes and margins for error. This is really good. Another big one for the elections. If there's a 3% margin error in an election poll, you can't say, Trump is leading or is favored to win the election because he leads Biden 51% to 49%, that he's favored by 2 percentage points because the margin of error in the poll is 3% or 3 percentage points. So that margin of error, can swing the race either way. Basically what you say then, and journalists make this mistake all the time. I see it, he's favored 51 to 49%. It's not, because that margin of error, changes up. And in that case, you have to call it a dead heat, because the margin of error is 3%. You need to explain that to the viewer sometimes. I do drop some memes in here to kind of break up your monotony. Do the 79 beers exercise, and it works. I've done it with my age, so it's kind of interesting. A few AP style book issues here. General rule, numerals 10 and higher, you will use the numeral. Spell out 0 to 9. Okay. In most cases, there are exceptions to it, though. Examples, we bought 3 rugs, THREE, we spell it out because it's under 10, and 14 pairs of sweatpants at Costco. Okay. 14 is more than 10, so you use the numeral. The exceptions to the spell out 0 to 9, and there are many in the AP style book, and I've listed them here. Age, always use the numerals, the figures. The law is 8 years old, use the number 8. The 15-year-old boy, 1-5. The boy, 7, has a sister, 10. Okay, so 7 and 10, you use the numeral for the age always. Also for dimensions, this is big for sports, 5 feet 10 inches tall, the 5'10" guard. The car is 17 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 4 feet high, kind of an odd shaped car. Or, if you're measuring snowfall, Chicago had a 9-inch snowfall, you use the numeral, 9-inch, okay? Distances, we went for a 4-mile run, numeral 4. He walked 3 miles, use the numeral 3. Even though it's under 10, these are exceptions to the rules. Same holds true for monetary figures. If you look this up in the AP style book, cents and dollars entry in the style book. It should still have monetary figures in it too, but they may have some of the newer style books listed as cents and dollars for some reason. Always use figures and the dollar sign. Okay, we don't spell out the word dollars unless we're just saying dollars. We sent him, several dollars, to help out. But otherwise we're going to use the number. Dollar sign 5, billion. Billion and million we spell out. Thousands we do not spell out. Thousands is dollar sign 50, comma, 000. That's kind of what tripped up Fox News in that lower third. Okay. There's a whole section on numerals in the AP style book. If you have the 2020 version, it's page 198 through 200. It'll be off a few pages in some of the others. Just look it up alphabetically under numerals. It also has an entry on percent and percent change. We've covered that already. Rankings. He was my number 1 choice, or the city ranked number 1 in the state. It's NO period 1. Never use the pound sign or spell out number. You also can say first. First is, Chicago ranked first in the nation in homicides this year. Homicides per capita this year. Speeds, always use numerals on all counts, and MPH is no periods. Temperatures. Oh boy, this is a big one. We use this in Chicago a lot. It's that time of year. 7 degrees outside. Use the numeral 7. Okay, don't spell out 7. If it's below 0, it's minus hyphen 7, 10, whatever. Time. Top of the hour, we don't put the colon 00. We just say 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. with periods after it. Midnight and noon, so people don't get 12 o'clock mixed up. Okay. But if it's a half hour or a percentage of the hour, it's 3:45, A period, M period. And it's lowercase on AM, PM. Okay. Got a little beer math here for you to kind of break things up. A few beers. That's my kind of math. All right. You also can use Excel formulas to figure some of these math calculations. Sum, and then put in the range of cells that you want to add together. You can do short lists of them, put them together in different ways like this. You can do averages. If I have B4 to B13, or maybe B2 to B10,000, you want to figure the average for a huge data set. Median, same way. It'll also do the mode, the most common price. If you're looking at a bunch of, we're going to look at consumer data a little later in the semester, and business data out of Keepa and tools like that. You can go in and do the mode and the median once you download that data set. Okay, so these formulas, finding the minimum and maximum, these are good little shortcuts if you've got a data set. Just so you know they're there. There's some other basic Excel calculations here as well. So this is your guide. You can do a good job on your Math for Journalists take-home assignment if you use this primer. Okay, this is kind of your golden ticket. We're going to do some practice exercises now. We got Mr. T here. His prediction is pain when we go through this. We're going to figure the mean of this set of numbers. Okay, so what's the average? So this adds up to 21. And we're going to divide it by 6. And that's going to be 3.5. Okay. That'll do it on the calculator. You can do it in a spreadsheet, however you want to do your math calculations. I just did it in my head. It's a pretty easy number to work with. But the mean of that data set is 3.5. Okay. This is an odd number set. We're going to find the median, the middle number. Median means middle. Think of the median on the street. It separates the lanes of cars. This one's pretty easy. There's 2 numbers here, 2 numbers here. 5 is right in the middle. That's your median. Okay. With an odd set of numbers, a little bit different, or even set of numbers, excuse me, a little bit different. 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 11. So we're going to have to find the number that's halfway between 5 and 6, because there's 2 up here, 2 down here, and that's going to be 5.5. Okay. Mode, the most common. This one's tricky. Hit pause for a second and see what you come up with. Just scribble it down on a sheet of paper. Then I'll give you the answer. Okay, mode is a good way to determine mode is to actually put this into a spreadsheet and determine it, because it's a bit of a brain tease. When I do this in class, in a synchronous class or an in-person class, my most common answer I get is 227, because it does look like 227 is the most common, but actually it's 385. So there's 1, 2 here, and if you look cat-a-corner down through here, there's 3 more, so that's 5 385s. Okay. I throw in some 666s and 999s in there just to confuse you. The 667 with the 227, plays little tricks on your mind. That's why putting these into a spreadsheet and doing the equal sign mode and doing your columns, B1 through, or B2 through B, 15 is a good way to go here. Okay. So, or B18 it would be, because there's 18 numbers. Okay. Figuring percent change. Okay. This can be a real challenge. And you're going to have to do this a little bit with our exercises. So I've given you a sample one here. Okay. And how to come up with it. So, give you the answer here in just a second. If a $135,000 budget increases by 5%, okay, don't do it is the old school way that they probably taught you in grammar school. Don't do the cross multiply and divide. 5 is to 100 is x is to 135. Cross multiply and divide. Think of it as a decimal, because converting fractions into decimals are so much more easy to multiply than a fraction. Fractions suck. You guys know that. So just convert it 1.05, 5% increase. 1 at 0.00 is 100%. So multiply 135,000 times 1.05, and bingo, you'll get this number, 141,750. Okay? Likewise, if it decreases. So good old Crete, Nebraska, home of the Alpo Dog Food Factory. Okay? It's a little town just south of Lincoln, Nebraska, where I grew up. A little tiny town. Let's say they have an annual budget of $227,000. Okay? And that budget decreases by 8%. Just multiply 227,000 times 0.92, or 1.00, 100%, minus the 8% is 0.92. And you'll get this figure, 208,840, because the budget went down from 227. Okay? Now I want you to hit pause. And looking at what you have here on the screen, I want you to write a sentence. Okay? Write a sentence talking about this decrease. Okay? How would we write this as a structured sentence, knowing what the answer we got and what the original number was? So go ahead, hit pause, and then we'll take a look at your answer. Okay, so if we're writing subject, verb, object structure, this is a good way to go. Crete, Nebraska's, and you've got that weird comma in between the city and state. Crete, Nebraska's city budget decreased by 8% this year. So we need to say what percentage and decrease it was. Okay, it's decreasing by 8% this year to $208,000. If we give the percentage and 208,000, it gives people, a good, kind of launch pad for understanding what this is. If we just said it decreased by 8%, well, decreased by 8% to what? Is that a significant number? Is it in the billions? Is it in the millions? Is it in the hundreds of thousands? Gives it scale. We also can't just say the budget decreased to 208,000. So we don't know how much it decreased from, okay? And that percent there helps people better understand it. It's a pretty sizable budget decrease, okay? So if we said it increased last year by 4%, last year's city budget was $200,000, okay? So we multiply 200,000 times 1.04. And what are you going to get? Probably going to get $208,000, okay? And then you're going to have to take and write that as a sentence. So the budget increased by 4% to this number. Same thing there. So you can write that as a sentence. We've reviewed AP style numerals, but just I've got a few little new reminders in here. Millions and billions. If you have something like this, 1.387, 222, you can round it up. 1.39 million. Also, I would accept 1.4 million. Don't spell out dollars. $30,000 is actually $30,000,000. Don't spell out thousands, just millions and billions and trillions. 10 cents, it's spelled out, 10 for the numeral, and then spell out cents. You don't do it as $0.10. Okay? The difference between these two percentages, 50%, 27%, is 23 percentage points. Remember the percentage points. The difference isn't 23%. Okay? 50% means it's increased by half. 100% means it's doubled. 200% means it's tripled. Quadrupled is a 300% increase is quadrupled. Okay? So let's go through your exercise. Okay, this is the handout that you want to go to first and go to File, make a copy, put your name on it. Go and save it. Don't save it in our class folder. You don't want others seeing your answers. And I'll delete it. And you just want to drop it in whatever folder you're doing your classwork in. And once you've made that copy, put your name on it at the top. And again, you'll just email this to me, not as a PDF, but as a Word doc or a Google Doc if you prefer to share it that way. Just make sure that I can see it, change to anyone with the link, so copy the link, and there you go. And then you're going to go through and you're going to answer 10 questions. We're going to start with mean, median, in another median question. We're going to fix some AP style. We're just going to tell you to edit some of these. So look at the numerals. Are they correct? Is 8, 12 below 0? Is that right? Is that the right way to write it? You go back to that primer. It's going to tell you, that it should be minus -12. 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Something wrong there? Oops. Should have periods between AM and PM. Okay. Same way down here. We're going to edit this sentence. $8 billion. Do we spell out dollars? No, we put a dollar sign in front of it. So you're going to retype the sentences here. There's a few others. 6 and 7 here is a little bit of editing. This one's going to be a little calculation. Okay. Number 8. Budget increased 300% from 4 billion to 12 billion. Now we're going to assume the dollar figures are correct. So the 4 billion and 12 billion are correct. Okay. But is this correct? And how would we phrase it? So you'll need to rewrite that. Little AP style here with numerals. Scores, you might want to look up the sports entry and scores entry in the AP style book. This one, number 10, is a little more challenging. I'm going to talk to you about it for a minute here. I want you to assume you're a copy editor and you're editing this story. And what would you do if you looked at this story and you saw 23,000 here, and then looked down here and saw these numbers? You're going to see right away that they don't add up. Well, what do you do in this situation? Which number is correct? If you don't know, how would you go about verifying it? So you're editing somebody else's story. How would you go about verifying this? Okay? Give me some ideas. That's all I'm looking for here. I'm not asking you to rewrite it or anything like that. But you have 4 numbers here, and these 3 should add up to match this one, but they don't. What do you change? How do you verify it? What do you do before you make the change, maybe? So I'm going to put you in a little bit of an editor's role here. Okay. So do all 10 of these questions. Reach out to me if you have any questions about any of them. I'm more than happy to help you with it. But again, this is kind of the more challenging thing you'll deal with this semester. And once you kind of get through this, you're going to be much better at writing with data. And when we start writing short stories to accompany our graphics that we build each week, and we're going to start building graphics next week, you're going to be able to put together very clear, concise, crisp sentences about data. So that's it for now. Just make sure you have this emailed to me either as a Google Doc or a Word doc that I can edit. No PDFs, please. And make sure you've made a copy of this. Don't type on the original. Make sure you get it to me by February 7th at noon. If you're taking one of my other classes down the road, your deadline's going to be a little different on here as well. I should note that if somebody's taking this beyond spring of 2022, your deadlines are going to be a little different. So have a good one, and we will see you next week.